Hey, welcome to another episode of Chasing Rings. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's up,
Gentlemen,
brother?
gentlemen.
Good to see you as always. Good to see you as always. Coming off of an excellent season 2 opener. Appreciate all the work you guys put in to get us prepped for that. And really, our first official guest because we've had people on before, but no one that we actually formally interviewed. So appreciate the effort and helping that come together. As we launch the second season of Chasing Rings. Tonight, we are going to review the Big 12 football media days, which took place in Frisco, Texas, the last couple of days. And right now, you know how we always do.
Wait, what?
Gee, set us off.
All righty. So did a little research about universities winning championships because I was thinking, well, what university may represent our name, Chasing Rings? So did you know that Stanford has won at least one national championship every year since the 76-77 season? So for 50 straight years, Stanford has brought home at least one NCAA national championship.
Wait, what?
That's wild. And they always win that Sears Cup thing or whatever it's called now, right?
Yeah,
You
they've
know what
won
I'm
it
talking
quite a
about?
few times. Yeah.
Yeah, because
They changed the name
across
now.
sports, they're pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
baseball
definitely
are really good
Olympic
too.
sport.
And you get points on that thing even for like, I know you get championship points, but don't you also get for like finishes and things like that? Like if you were a runner up or
If I
to
remember
get to the
correctly,
final
yeah.
four and things like that.
If I remember correctly, but don't hold me to that.
Yeah, I
All
know
right.
men's gymnastic is big too.
Big dude, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, we know we're going to talk about the Big 12 tonight. So, a quarterback from last year, very notable, Bear Bachmeyer, started as a freshman, number 47. Great
Yeah.
year. 7 times he was named the Big 12 Freshman of the Week. And actually, he was named the Big 12 Freshman of the Year. But did you know that the biggest thing that Bachmeyer broke last year, the record, is that he is the first quarterback of Asian American descent, the first starting quarterback of Asian American descent to take a snap for BYU.
Wait, what?
Wow, that is
Yes.
surprising.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, his mother is Thai American. And
Interesting.
he made that known, and
Okay.
he's very active with the Asian American community on campus in terms of belonging. And there's a lot of videos, and the students are really backing him up. I think he has almost his own little cheering section, but he has a following, and then part of what he does is works on his identity and his brand. He makes that part of it.
Okay. I love that. I love that. I was a big fan of his last year, and now I'm even more of a fan. So I appreciate that one.
Absolutely.
That's excellent. All right. My wayward is a little weird and it's old. So the Pac-12 used to be the Pac-8 during this time period, but did you know that up until 1975, the Pac-10 only allowed one of their football teams to participate in the postseason? So if you think about how good the Pac-12, Pac-8 was at that time, the UCLAs, the USCs, only one of them was going while another highly ranked team was sitting at home.
Wait,
Oh my
what?
gracious.
I wonder
Yeah, that's crazy.
what was the issue with that?
Their thing was they wanted to prevent over commercialization of their football programs,
No.
which
So
I guess
there's
it's
one went to the Rose
1975,
Bowl.
right?
So there's
Say it
only
again.
one.
Pretty much that was that Rose Bowl automatic. Yep.
Yep, that was it. And
Yep.
oh wow.
Yep.
And that had to carry it for everybody, huh?
Yep.
With the number of crap bowls that are out there, maybe we should go back to that.
Yeah. Tell me about it. And that's even more interesting because there weren't that many games then. So I guess a lot of people probably were missing out from across the nation, because there couldn't have been that many bowl games back in that time period. So
No, it's very hard to get it.
anyway, that is our
Wait, what?
let's move on to around the ring in sports news. Some of the top stories of the day. World Cup. I swear, fellas, I am addicted to this World Cup. I think I'm going to have to find a way to fit soccer into my life because I'm loving it. I'm building my schedule around being able to see the games. And I just, especially now, I don't want to miss anything, man. So today, France played Morocco in the final eight. And man, it was just a workman-like performance. France had some opportunities that they blew in the first half. Mbappe missed a penalty kick, which is uncharacteristic. He didn't miss it. The goalie made a great save, actually, kind of guessed right. But they had some missed opportunities to kind of put the game away in the first half, but they ended up going to the break at 0-0. But France won 2-0. It was really no contest, definitely outclassed. I see why France is the number one team in the world. I don't know who is going to have a legitimate chance at beating them, but we shall see. Play resumes on Friday with Spain and Belgium. That should be an interesting one. Spain is actually, I believe, the number 2 ranked team in the world. So we'll see what happens with that as the World Cup continues. And certainly we got some big ones on the weekend. We got Messi leading Argentina out. And then we have the England-Norway match is going to be extremely interesting. England is the favorite in that, but they better be real careful with Norway. Moving on, Marcus Spears Jr., who I think I had referred last time, or I didn't refer to it. People have been referring to him as a young Giannis, which, again, I like to slow down on these comparisons when people haven't really done anything yet. But Marcus Spears Jr. is the number 1 hoops prospect for 2027, and he has been for this last year. He actually committed to Texas. Something in me tells me that could change because it's so early. I don't like to see student athletes commit so early, but
Right.
he's committed to Texas. And of course, he's the son of Marcus Spears, for NFL, now commentates on ESPN, does an excellent job. And he's got some great athletes in that family. His daughter, I believe, is at Texas playing volleyball, if I'm not mistaken. So some good genes in the Spears family. Kawhi Leonard, the trade from the Clippers to the Raptors is on hold. And you guys may remember this from a few years ago. I don't know what happened to it or why it takes so many years to resolve these issues. But apparently the Clippers tried to get around the salary cap by hitting Kawhi off with some money as a sponsorship deal with a company that the owner had invested $60 million in.
Nice try.
Real nice try. So they're investigating that. Toronto says that they're not really going to do anything until they see the outcome of the investigation, which, what choice do you have?
Right.
There's not a lot you can do. So I'm pretty sure that whatever the findings are, that'll be resolved in a manner that lets Kawhi continue on with the Raptors. I don't even know how much news it is, except that a decision hasn't been made.
I'm
This
beyond
last piece of news.
They better hope it comes down.
Say that again, G.
I said they better hope it comes down where they can't get Kawhi. They don't need him. His wheels are gone.
They seem to think that if they get Kawhi, that they can make some noise, which I think we briefly talked about the other day, where I don't see it. I mean, I don't know what Toronto's roster is, but I don't see Kawhi at this stage of his career not playing regularly. What he's going to do for a team. So we'll see. But this last piece of news definitely relates to, obviously, what our show is about. A study was just released about NFL players and neurodegenerative diseases, like Parkinson's and dementia and all of that. And basically, NFL players are 4 times as likely than the general population to die of one of these types of diseases, which is, extremely sad. The research studied almost 20,000 athletes who played in the NFL between 1960 and 2019, including almost 2,000 that died. Did you guys know that many football players died from these types of diseases?
Not too many. I only know of one. My teammate that y'all may remember was a fullback for the Raiders for all those years, Steve Smith.
Mm-hmm. He had dementia or Parkinson's?
He actually had ALS.
He had
Oh,
ALS, man.
God.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. They thought
crazy.
it was ALS, and they said something about being Lyme's disease, but it ended
Hmm.
up being ALS,
Oh
and it was
man.
very difficult. And his family stuck by him through that whole time. His wife and family, tremendous people, and that was a tough one for all. Smitty was our guy.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So a few other things about that. They found that the death rate in this disease grouping was more significant for younger players. Those who died before age 60 had a 12-fold higher rate of one of these types of deaths than the general population. So, I mean, we can pretend and we can say what we want about the impact of playing a sport as violent as football and, CTE, whether it's
Mhm.
real or not. I think that if you're on the side that is not real, then I don't know what rock you've been living under.
Right.
So
Agreed.
there's some really sad news. And unfortunately, probably the worst part about it is you can't even really diagnose it until after someone passes.
Right.
So there's not even anything you can do about it to preserve their life or give them a better quality of life.
Hmm.
So that's unfortunate. So that will do it for Around the Ring in sports news. And we are going to jump right into the Big 12, our first football conversation in I don't know how many, I guess since the draft, right? Since April.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so as I mentioned, the media days took place in Frisco, Texas, the last couple of days. And basically the days open, it was eight, they do 8 teams each day that participate in this is a 16-team conference. So during his opening address, the commissioner, Brett Yormick, outlined a vision for the conference that really talked about expansion, revenue growth, enhanced athlete protection. I think, G, you had mentioned something in your what the other night about the Monster Energy drink and,
Oh,
those
yeah.
corporate partnerships with the Big 12, them kind of being the first conference to delve into that. He
Mm.
touched on that, and Monster, as you mentioned, was the sponsor for their media days. So that's one of the things that he talked about, the multifaceted deal. So I guess we're going to be seeing jersey patches and
Yes.
Monster on their field this year, which will
That's
be
right.
interesting. Which I think that could be another show when we talk about, I don't know anything about the Monster Company, but I just hope they're on the up and up if they're going to be on your uniforms and on your field.
Jeez.
Um, he talked about sports betting, which he didn't have a choice given what transpired with Brendan Sorsby. If he had not talked about it, he was going to have an issue, which we're going to get to a little bit later. Did have a interesting conversation during his delivery. They talked about a zero tolerance on, I guess they've had some problems with fans and
Mm-hmm.
derogatory fan chants, and
Yeah.
he basically gave a mandate that there would be zero tolerance for that type of behavior moving forward in the stadium. So we'll see what happens. And then I'm gonna get ready to turn this over to you, big dude, because I think you may have a little bit more input on this. There was a really tense Q&A exchange between your Mark and a member of they're referring to him as a member of the Texas Tech media. So I'm not really
Yeah.
sure what that means. It's just a member of the
Oh.
media. Texas Tech had their own media. But basically, Yormark did not want to talk about the Brendan Sorsby situation, and I do not blame him.
No.
Right. It
Big
kind of
dude,
is what it
how
is
tense
from his
did it get,
perspective.
man?
Well, it got real tense because that reporter, not only was he direct, I mean, your Mark actually came down, heard the question, almost act like he didn't hear the whole thing, came down and said, I heard that question. Now I want you to make sure you ask it again, quote me correctly, and then I'm going to give you the answer that I want to give you. So he's already decided. And of course, the questions were about, and you were just talking about the celebration thing. And I know that Texas Tech they were throwing tortillas on the field. That's one
Mm,
of the things they were doing. So that was a long time tradition. But another program, and I can't remember if it was Oklahoma State, they were banging the paddles against the bleachers. Apparently,
mm,
that's what the problem was. He stopped one thing from happening, the tortillas on the field, and let the paddle part go. And then actually it was a pretty smart way to ease into the Brendan Sorsby thing. That was his second question, and he wouldn't answer it really at all, But that was a pretty intense, exchange. The media actually were pretty friendly to him for the most part. But this guy, one thing about him is you cannot push him around. He was pretty definitive on what he was going to do. He did not apologize for not wanting to answer the Brendan Sorsby thing, because they knew how big it was when they started talking about other questions, and somebody else I think tried to slide in the lawsuit thing, and he went right beyond the lawsuit. He didn't come near it. And even when he talked to the radio people, just watching that, he was just very, very consistent on, kind of like Gerald was saying, what's the world going to be like for Big 12? Now, where I like your mark is, I think, set the stage for other commissioners and everyone else to try to find out what's going to be the real vision for the conferences. That might stop the conferences maybe from dissolving to begin with. This is what he's trying to do. So from what I saw, him working with the monster drinks. Hey, where are your monster drinks? I don't see any. I'm not allowed to have any. But him making that move, I guess, to be honest with you, one thing about your mark is I don't know whether he plays sports or not. I know it says his salary is $5.6 million, but one thing I know that, and he's also been involved with NASCAR and some other things. So one thing I learned about him as commissioner of Big 12, he does not want to play for second place and will not play for second place. He's probably tired of hearing about the Big 10, the SEC. They want to be the big dogs, and if they have to put money into it, gee, I know you mentioned about the games overseas. Then there's there's one, and this is the second year they're going to have a conference game over there, which is very interesting that they're going to England to have a conference game, and the other game over in Ireland. So there's a whole lot as to what's going on. Your mark is extremely corporate. And he's extremely competitive. He said, we got to start winning some of these bigger football games. And he was very candid, of course, and I know that may be a different topic, but for the college playoffs, they all want more inclusiveness in the college playoffs, and he does not want to back off of that and says that the college playoff thing has got to change. And would not really lean toward whether you cancel the championship games just yet, that maybe we have to look at what happens first before we cancel the conference championship games, but expand the playoffs.
So anything else to add to that, G, before we move on to the Texas Tech storyline?
Yeah, if I can sum up, what I listened to and read about today, I mean, there are multiple takeaways, but there are four I wanted to bring up here. And the first one is this monster thing. I think it's about revenue sharing would be my guess, because the
Absolutely.
Big 12, they don't have the media right cachet, that the ACC, the Big 10, SEC has. So they had to figure something out. I think the combination of leveraging the NFL with Monster and starting to take that approach is going to help them build their coffers. And you know what? These young cats are going to be looking at that, because now you can have NIL and you may be able to get better revenue sharing if you go to a Big 12 institution. So I thought that was smart. Speaking of NFL, TCU is going to be playing in Dublin, Ireland. And
They play North Carolina to open up, right? Isn't it North Carolina to open the season?
North Carolina, yep.
Yep.
And then Arizona State will be in London. That is pure connection to the NFL. But it's going to also serve a secondary purpose, y'all. You're going to start getting some of these young men in Europe, because they're going to probably focus on Europe first. They're going to start recruiting a lot more of them into the college world here in the U.S. So which is going to end up being feeding right back into the NFL. So, I mean, they're thinking real long with that. So that was a takeaway. The third one is the business approach. I think and he's a business person. And
yes, he is.
See with how he's moving, but I think it's good. That's kind of where we are now, is that this is just not amateur athletics relative to football and particularly basketball. It's not college athletics. I mean, amateur athletics anymore. This is business moves. And I think he's doing great trying to position the Big 12 in a particular way. Definitely corporation friendly is kind of how I would describe it. And then finally, so this goes back to his question that you were talking about, big dude. I was like, this dude got a look on his face. Y'all remember Cedric the Entertainer when they were doing the Kings of Comedy and he was doing the
No.
bit about the president and you asking the president you asked the president the wrong question and said was like, "You gonna ask me that?" And in public, that's the kind of the faces he was making. Like, yo, you gonna really ask me that? It's like, come
Yeah.
on, man. So
Yeah.
I love his demeanor. I love his attitude. There's a level of transparency that he's not running away from, but he'll check somebody, and I
Oh, he checked
love
him
it.
today.
Yeah, he checked him, and I love it.
I like the fact that he came in with the chip on his shoulder, and he was prepared. I mean, he knew what was going to happen, and he was prepared for it. And I respect that. I'd rather the commissioner stand up and not cower
Hmm.
down and shy away from the difficult conversations. I mean, he knew what was coming. The whole offseason was about this conference,
Yep.
right? And they're in the news now because they're still a part of an active lawsuit. So it's not like he came in there and thought that it was going to be all, roses and complimentary pats on the back for a great job. He knew what he was facing. So much respect to that. Um, the next item that was a really big item, certainly during the last couple of days, was going to be the Texas Tech storyline. There was no way that you were going to be able to avoid that. They've been under the microscope through probably since late spring, to be quite honest. At least that's just public. We don't know what was happening locally with them before it became public knowledge that this was happening,
Right.
because there's always that lag before the public finds out. But Texas Tech's coming in. They're the defending conference champions. They made it to the quarterfinals. They're certainly coming in as the team to beat, but they're also the team that has this black cloud hovering over its program. And that cloud is almost to the point where it's consuming the university and its reputation at this point. It's like it's
Mm.
become bigger than the football program. You hear
Mm.
Texas Tech now and everybody's this,
Right.
right? They're not thinking about anything else. Um, we all know the Sorsby saga. I don't think we need to, recap that. But, they're coming in, eyes on Texas Tech. How do you think Texas Tech handles everything that's taken place in this offseason and really trying to come to these media days to handle business and not want to deal with this Brendan Sorsby thing? Because we're really there about the competition coming up for the season. Brendan Sorsby's not a part of that at this point. We got to
Right.
deal with Will Hammond, who's going to be the quarterback. Something interesting came up that Will Hammond was really projected to be a starter before Sorsby even entered the Texas
Yes.
Tech fray.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So how much does this really damage Texas Tech? Like, does it knock Texas Tech completely off course competitively? We know what it's done, intangibly, but is this going to change anything from them competitively? I still think they're the team to beat in the conference. I think that they have the better athletes. They certainly have the better salary line, if you want to call it that. I think that if you look at the two games they played against BYU last year, there's no close second in this conference. What do you guys think? How would you look at Texas Tech specifically going into this season without getting too much into the rest of the teams in the conference? Just looking at Texas Tech, how are you viewing them heading into the season?
Well, Texas Tech were my favorites last year. I mean, I won't back off of
Yeah,
it.
and you had picked them to win it all, big dude. And we
Yeah.
were kind of giving you the side eye, but
I know.
you
I
were
thought it
right
was
there.
going to be Utah.
If their quarterback had shown up, you might have been on to something.
Yeah, well, like I said, Texas Tech has been through a whole lot, but and their defense, even with all the people they lost on defense, I think they had 6 people drafted. Their defense is again a top brass defense. So I think that, well, first of all, with the Big 12 has got to get beyond itself, because one of the comments that your Mark made was about being 16 strong. If you're going to be
Right.
16 strong, where he has to use his leadership is to stop with the piling on stuff with Texas Tech. We got football season. We want to see if we can win. The best way to get revenge is to go out there and kick somebody's behind.
That's right.
Go get them. That's the best revenge. Now Texas
That's
Tech,
right.
they have to be invested as to who they have. So if Will Howard was going to be the quarterback to begin with, hopefully the lesson is stick to what you have. Let's see what happens. One thing I saw with Colorado is, everybody thought the quarterback from last year automatically is going to start, but Prime came out and said, "Hey, I don't have a starting quarterback." So let's see what happens. Let's not get somebody else in here and get into all these other things. So I think, but with Texas Tech though, I don't think that the odds have changed at all. They just are an excellent football program, and as you said before, Guru. Also, I think you were talking about softball. Just a very excellent athletic program that's extremely competitive, and it's going to be difficult for them to really keep the noise out, the outside noise of all these other things that have happened. So uh, Joey McGuire, and so hopefully the other campus officials can turn their attention to making sure that they keep the outside noise out through, the coaching staff, through their leadership council, through all those other folks that are there to keep Texas Tech on a straight and narrow. But I don't think they're going to need a whole lot. And I'll get to it later. I won't pick anybody to win the national championship, but I think we're talking about a similar run this year with Texas Tech.
What's your
Yeah.
take on this team right now, G?
Yeah, I don't know. I know we'll talk about other universities at a different time, but what I noticed, with the just quickly with the 8 that was interviewed today, I kind of felt like that they were channeling your Mark's personality when you're talking about them, really being 16 strong. I think that has become some mantra that's probably trickling down, to the ADs, to the coaches, to the student athletes. So what I'm thinking when it comes to Texas Tech, as long as they just need to take a page from their commissioner. You know what people are thinking, but you know what your job is. Do your job. If somebody brings up something that's just sideways, has nothing to do with your job at the particular moment, acknowledge it, move on. But don't feed into it. And I think as long as Texas Tech, if they can do that, I think that they'll probably perform at a very high level. Now, y'all know me; I don't do early predictions, so maybe after the fourth game, I'll have a better idea of what I'm thinking. Also, to what you just said, Big Dude, they lost some major players to the NFL. And I mean, and not every institution. I don't know if Texas Tech is the type of institution that can retool every year. They're not Bama. They're not Penn State. They're not Ohio State. It's not going to be plug and play, would be my guess, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting that you say that last part, G, because I think that some people would argue that they kind of did retool, which is uncharacteristic for a team like this. They're not the traditional power. And again, I talked about that salary cap jokingly earlier, but we had talked about during the past season about the money that they had available to them. And it's certainly going to help this year. Now we'll see if it happens long term. This is only year 2 of this. But I want to go back to the quarterback situation for a minute. And when Sorsby's out of there, we got to move forward. A little bit about this Will Hammond cat. We know he's coming off an injury, but he was a four-star recruit who he was going to be the starter before he tore his ACL in October of 2025. he had a really good game that stood out in his career over Utah, and he basically had the job before his knee injury. Now he's been throwing in the 7-on-7s. He's working out and all that stuff, and they're hopeful that he's ready for week 1. And I do not like that term, hopeful, fellas. That
I'm with you.
concerns me because now if you're digging into what might have been your third string quarterback, who is the transfer from Tulsa, Kirk Francis, which is no slouch. I mean, we
That's what
follow
I
it
was ready
enough.
to say.
Tulsa is not bad. Tulsa's not bad. And
Yep.
this might be one of those Kirk Cincinnati type cats that's just been waiting his turn, right?
Tom
So Kirk
Brady.
Francis has or Tom Brady, 3,000 plus career passing yards, started 11 games. So he started. He was and then they have a redshirt freshman, Lloyd Jones III. If you look down their depth chart, I don't think that they're in a completely terrible situation, to be quite honest with you. And I like something that both of you have said. Forget all the noise. Go out there and take some names.
Do your
They probably
job.
know that they're still the big boy in the conference. Doesn't matter about all this other stuff. That doesn't change who you are as a team and the product that you're putting on the field. So I'm going to be
Hmm.
interested to see what the makeup of the team is mentally. And a lot of that's going to fall on Joey McGuire as the coach.
Right.
Looking into why they're probably still the favorites, and Big Dude, you started talking about this. They return a few people on defense that it's just their time. They have to tackle A.J. Holmes, linebacker Ben Roberts are coming back. They got a cornerback coming back, and they added some transfer pass rushers. Offensive line is viewed as one of the best in the conference, so you just need somebody back there that could fling that thing and run the offense. And they have a pretty good running back trio. Now, the big thing I want to point out to them before we move on, they avoid the other big boys in the conference this year. So it couldn't have worked out more perfectly for them. They
So
don't
they're
have to
not
play
playing
Utah.
Utah,
They don't play
BYU.
BYU.
Yeah.
So if you got to play those teams, it's probably going to be in the Big 12 championship. And I think
Wow.
you take your chances at that point. Probably get through undefeated up to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. In
Boy,
fact,
that's
yeah,
not good.
BYU, them not playing each other, I think is going to be something to see who takes advantage of things early with the schedule and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
And
They got
getting
to
out,
have a lot of
losing two
numbers
ball
and a
games in the
big gap.
first.
Well, and the crazy thing about it too, you guys, all of the other teams that we would consider, I don't even want to say potential challengers, good teams that would have a chance at knocking them off, Houston, Arizona State, TCU, all of them come to Lubbock.
Yeah.
So you couldn't have a more favorable schedule given what they're facing in terms of pressure. Don't play your two other best teams in the conference, and all of the other teams that could possibly knock you off have to come to you.
Come to you. But
Have to come to
Houston,
you.
man, we'll get to this at some point. But I just put a star on it. Houston can be
Any
a
given
spoiler.
Saturday, right? Any given
Yeah.
Saturday, we know how it is. Any of these teams could go down. And I tell you what, I don't know if I would be looking past Arizona and Arizona State so easily. And TCU is always competitive to me. So while
Yeah.
it sounds good on paper, it sounds easy on paper, I don't know that it's going to be the cakewalk that they expect it to be. Now, I think if they perform up to their capability, they won't have any problem. But it's
Yeah.
basically theirs to lose at this point, you know?
Well, that
Um,
depends on how their plug and plays go.
yeah,
So, I mean, it
yeah.
depends on how their plug and play goes. When I say plug and play, I'm talking about portal people,
So
basically.
and they have them as the favorite to become the first repeat conference champion since Oklahoma's run from 2015 to 2020, which
Wow.
that doesn't mean a whole lot to me because that conference has changed its complexion since then. I mean, just by the fact that it was Oklahoma's run, a team of that
Hmm.
caliber doesn't even exist in the conference anymore. So, yeah, great feat. But when BYU and Utah, no shade to those programs, is your next closest competition, I don't know how big of a deal that
Do
is.
you do
Um,
you know what their out of conference schedule is? Do you have their schedule up?
I don't
Like
have
who's
it in front
coming?
of me. I don't
Oh,
have it
okay.
in front of me. But so if we move, and this kind of went into the territory where you were going, G, so you can probably set us off here. Who are the chasers who can actually catch Tech. And I mean, we've talked about BYU and Utah, and that's perennial. So why don't we skip over them and say, okay, who else? And I know G gave us the asterisk with Houston, so maybe that's a good place to start. Who else in this league might be able to stun us and knock them off and obviously get past BYU and Utah?
Well,
I
I
mean, what do
think
you
you
like about
mentioned
Houston,
I
G?
think you mentioned TCU. I like the speed at which they play. That's what I
Say
really
that
like
again.
about. I say I like the speed at which they play
Mm-hmm.
at Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you going into Texas Tech, and if they're similar to last year's Texas Tech, then their defense will, I think, will have to step up a little more. But I think that they're probably capable. I don't know. They just one of those teams that you think about, you look at, you investigate, and you like they could be a spoiler. They
But they
could be.
score so many points. They
They
score so many points every year. If they just get a defense 1 year, they could catch lightning in a bottle.
thank you. And y'all remember Nolan Ryan at Arkansas?
Nolan Richardson, yeah,
Richardson, yeah, that's what I think. Houston is the basketball or football equivalent where they just go. But you said
yeah.
it right, and this is what I'm thinking. If they tighten up that defense, I think they have a chance to spoil Texas Tech's day.
And let me tell you something. Don't Houston has some scary, sleepy quarterbacks. They've had quarterbacks that really can sling that thing around. I'm a little bit surprised they haven't put one of them in the NFL, who's become a star. But it's going to be a
Hmm.
matter of time. I'm not going to disagree with anything you said about Houston, G. Scary.
Very.
What about you, big dude? Who do you think might be able to give a little chase to this thing?
Well, like I said, surprisingly, some of the other schools is going to take a while. I say one of the sleepers that I see is Baylor, and where Baylor goes with DJ Lagman at
Oh, that's
Mm.
quarterback.
right. That's
You
right. I
know,
Forgot
forgot that
about
they got
Baylor.
him. I
yeah,
forgot
yeah,
about him.
yeah. DJ Lagman, DJ Lagman coming in at quarterback. Like I said, there's a lot going on. They took a while to get him. He even explained, there was a lot of questions about why come, and he said it felt like home, which is makes sometimes it's that simple. But it'll be
Mm.
interesting to see what they put around. I think that you don't sleep on Baylor. Another team don't really sleep on as well is Kansas State. Now, I can't remember the coach's name from Kansas State, but he was and that's where I have a question about Texas Tech. He was Texas Tech's offensive coordinator last year. Went over and took that job. So,
Colin Klein, the old quarterback who used to be nice.
right, right. So it'll be interesting to see who else they brought up there. Like I said, and we talked about BYU, and the thing to remember about BYU is BYU now they returned like 13 starters, which is
Hmm.
pretty big in this
They're
day and
going to be
age. You
very
return
good.
13
They're gonna
starters, yeah,
they're a legitimate 10-win a year program now.
for sure. And I didn't realize that Bear Brockmeyer's brother is a wide receiver on that team.
Yes, he is. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, didn't realize it, and there's a whole lot of things that could happen, especially with Texas Tech's offense. But I would say somebody that knows Texas Tech's defense has got a chance to at least be competitive. It's going to be a lot of times it's those games, when you win a national championship or you do so, it's the least likely team. Like when we played, of course, we weren't in a conference, but we didn't think Cincinnati was going to give us any trouble. We started looking, we're like Alabama, Notre Dame, Pitt. No, man, we were losing to the last minute to Cincinnati the year we won the championship. So sometimes you'll get a team that's just red hot. So I would say Kansas isn't bad, and also they won't be coming up much. I don't know if they play him. I got to go back and look. Coach Rich Rod in his second stint with West Virginia,
Mm,
Rich
mm.
Rodriguez, ought to
Nobody's
be.
talking about him.
Yeah,
Nobody's
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about him.
I'm
Is that
afraid of
is
the old
that
man out there.
that's for a
And
reason?
he can recruit. He's always
Yes,
been
he
able to
can.
recruit,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
different age too. I guess he'd be considered an old school. coach. So I don't
Yeah,
know if he's adapted or not. But
Right.
he
yeah.
was a crook before. He was a crook then, though. So I would think he would just be right up his alley.
Well, he brought up a good point about the playoffs, though. He said, "Hey, they said, what's the main reason you want to expand the playoffs?" He said, "Because if we don't, coaches are going to continue to get fired at an alarming rate." I was like, "Whoa, I didn't even think about
Yeah.
that."
I didn't
You
think
know,
about it either. But you know what I'm feeling? And I guess we're in a good position to feel that way given the conferences we're in. So be it.
right? Yeah. Well, that's to me.
Right.
That's
You
what it's
cold.
for. The
So
pressure's
come on.
not going to be any.
I want my coach fired. You think I give a damn about West
Right,
Virginia's coach getting fired or not? Because he ain't
right,
winning?
right. Well, all of them are trying to come up with a body of work that says playoffs on their resume. But I guess we will get to some of those other ones that you people will have a short memory, especially today in sports. Everybody today's AI world or the way to look at stuff, people don't even look at championships almost the same way. Every fan
Nope.
wants to be part of it, but then 10 months later, that's what somebody told us one time when I got an award. The program that I ran, and you guys are familiar with it, I ran a program, the first award, I was probably about 26. And I said, hey, I told one of these older administrators, he's like 55. I said, hey, we won the award this year for the best, all around performance. And he said, that's all right, guy, but you know what it means? All that means is you got to do it again. And guess what? So whoever wins, like with Indiana, oh, that was great. Indiana won it. All that means is they got to do it again. And I think Texas Tech in the Big 12, I think has got a shot to do it again, but they must beware of some of those other schools with some of those other signings that they have that changes the chemistry and the composition of the team. Because when somebody wins a championship, it's still probably, I would say, a quarter of the team that we've never heard of, that followed DJ Lagman to the team. He goes there and somebody else goes to Baylor that wouldn't have gone to Baylor. So I would watch out for teams like that, Baylor and other teams that are familiar with Texas Tech, especially if you're an offensive team and Texas Tech continues to be aggressive. People are going to use at some point Texas Tech's aggressiveness against them. Can Texas Tech withstand that? And especially when you don't have somebody like Jacob Rodriguez now. You don't have him anymore. Who's able to do both of those things.
So I love what both of you guys said in terms of the teams that could possibly be the chasers. I want to talk first, big dude, about Baylor and DJ Lagway, just real briefly.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot that he had gone there, so that's a great catch. But he's a Texas kid, and I'm almost wondering if we're going to see the real deal right now because he had glimpses at Florida, and I forgot who they were playing. They were a big underdog, and he was giving the team the business, and he got hurt. And he never really was the same after that. I think he hurt his shoulder or something like that. He was never the same after that. And maybe coming closer to home is exactly what he needs. Baylor could be extremely, extremely dangerous. Kansas State, I think we forget about Avery Johnson. Do you remember the young cat that they
Yeah.
had?
Yep.
The quarterback, he's a problem. And Kansas State's usually pretty solid. And they have Colin Klein, the coach who intimately knows the program. He was a winner there himself. And I think they have a better college football environment than a lot of people think of. And I love that you brought those two teams up. And certainly, as I said, I'm not going to get back too much into that. I love the Houston as a potential threat. I think the team that I'm really looking at is Arizona. Now, they did lose some key pieces, and I'm probably jumping on G's bandwagon from the draft with his sleepers that the safety in the corner got drafted. Arizona's got some players out there, and I think that state doesn't get enough recognition for the number of players that it's produced recently. It's never going to be the hotbed of recruitment, but they have better players than you'd think.
Mm-hmm.
They have I just feel like they're primed to make a push. Now, I don't know if they can surpass Tech, but I would not be surprised if they can at least surpass Utah, which is probably a great segue into the new coaches roundtable because Utah's one asterisk for me is that Kyle Whittingham has moved on to Michigan and they have a new coach. So we have four new hires in the conference. We have Scaly from Utah, or Scally. I hope I'm enunciating his name properly.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned Colin Klein, who was a former quarterback at K-State. Rogers, of course, to Iowa State. The guy since, they left for their old coach left for Penn State, and then Morris, the Oklahoma State quarterback. So we got four new hires there. Might be a weird question because I don't know that we know that much about any of them. Which one are you guys most excited about? And maybe I guess it might be which team are you most excited about with the coaching change? Because I don't think we know too much about these coaches.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say Scaly is the number one for me because they're going to need someone who's been Scaly's a long-time assistant, hasn't been anywhere else.
Okay.
Scaly was a great defensive player for them. I think they're going to have to rely a little bit more on their defense, as you all probably remember. They lost probably two of the best offensive linemen they've had, I would say, in the last decade. Caleb Lomu and Spencer Fano, both high draft choices. So the momentum of that team is going to need someone that knows what's going on, the culture inside and out. And then with that coach, he already has one of those bowl games under his belt. When Whittingham left, you remember he didn't get to coach the bowl game, but this gentleman he coached the bowl game.
And, he's also an alum too, Steph, which I didn't realize.
Right. A very strong one, but I don't think he ever left there. So I'm excited about it because people don't really do that anymore. They don't really respect familiarity, but I think his intensity. And I think Utah's defense, especially with being in charge of it and him being able to pull all the strings, I think we ought to watch out for Utah's defense this year. I think I saw, did they get another running back? I think they got another running back I saw them interviewing. So they'll have the speed on offense and then some other things. But whatever Utah's core values are, somebody to be able to carry the core values, people that are playing the tough games, especially your core values when you have a leader, you don't have to adjust as much. You need some new things. This is a guy that'll probably change some things. And then you did mention as well, with Kansas State. Kansas State, again, is the next team that I think people aren't really looking at how well they can do. I'm most excited because I think they're probably the most underrated. I don't see Oklahoma State as quite ready yet. Oklahoma State and Rich Rod and all those folks, they'll improve this year. I'm pretty excited though about Kansas State. I think they're going to knock off some people that they're not supposed to, just from having somebody that's used to working for a winner like their coach.
So which one are you most excited about, Steph? Scaly or Klein?
Scaly, for sure.
Scaly?
Scaly, like I mentioned, it's not even just the history, but I think it's where it can come from. And I think to have the losses that they have and to bring in the new brass that they have, I think that'll be the advantage in the close games. You have to have somebody that's familiar with what's going on and has the support. I don't know what type of resources actually that Utah has as far as NIL, but it looks like they did pretty good off season as well. So knowing what they have to do with this offensive line, I'll bet you they're still pretty doggone good even after Fano and Lomu left. So they were solid, and I think that they're a team also that'll run the football more consistently in this pass-happy college football CFA that we have. So I like Scaly.
Okay, G, what about you? So we have the two coaches who are at their alma mater, Scaly and Klein at Utah and K-State, respectively. Again, this Rogers gentleman at Iowa State and Morris at Oklahoma State. Which hire are you most excited about? if you're even excited at all about any of
Okay.
them. I'm
Honestly,
looking
I
at your
mean,
face. You're
not
like, nah.
particularly. Yeah, no, not particularly. I understand where they're coming from and the hopes, but I'm not excited about any of them. To be quite candid, I'm not. I'm not. Oh my gracious.
For me, I'm really excited about Colin Klein. I loved him as a quarterback. I think that he's going to do a really good job. I think it's a great because who was it? Snyder was there, I believe. Bill Snyder was there for a
Yes.
long time. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that it will be a big transition for the returning players.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that's been in the system, I would imagine that he's taken a lot of things, from Snyder. So that would be the coach that I'd probably be the highest on. Now, and we're going to have to go somewhere here that I don't really want to go when we talk about coaches on the hot seat. Now, surprisingly, Coach Prime isn't like considered a hot seat coach, which is shocking to me. Right now, it's the Baylor coach and the Cincinnati coach, Aranda and Satterfield, but they have Sanders as a quick mention, and certainly Scott Frost at UCF, which UCF does not belong in the Big 12, but that's a whole nother conversation. Gee, we'll start with you this time. And you can go where you want to go with it. We don't even have to agree. I don't agree with Sanders not being on there. Scott Frost, yeah. So let's take those four coaches. Who do you think seat is the hottest? Mute.
Mute. Mute. Mute.
Sorry about that, Phil.
It's
Technology,
okay.
man. I think Satterfield is probably in a must-win situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I hear what they're saying about Prime, and I don't know if you all watched.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you've
Mm-hmm.
even read some of the statements he made. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of contrition going on about things that he's learning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of me is like, okay, we've heard that song for a couple of years where you're always learning this, you're learning that, we're going to improve. You know, we've been hearing that song. I would not be surprised that after this year, if they're under 500, that he's not back. I was
What year is this? Is this
that's
4 or 5?
one, two,
This
three,
is
four.
third.
Fourth?
This is
Okay.
his fourth coming up because I think he's on a 5-year contract, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember the terms, but that
Yeah, I don't
sounds
think
Three,
he's
right.
going to be
5 years.
around. If he's not pulling nine or 10 wins the next 2 seasons, he'll be out. But I think he's under 500 this season. They may just buy him out.
But let me ask you a question, and you can chime in on the same question when you discuss your coach, big dude. Do you think that, I mean, because we're saying, okay, they were under 500 last year. Is it going to be acceptable for Prime to be 10-3? I mean, doesn't he kind of have, I mean, he came in with a lot of hoopla just because of who he is, and they had such a
Yeah.
good first year. Do you think that he almost has to be the team that chases down Tech? Like, does he almost kind of have to
I think so.
win the whole pot?
Well, I think he has to make the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has to make the postseason. And if he's, and minimally, well, not even minimally, if he's not going to make it to one of the New Year's Sixes, it need to be one of those next level bowls, maybe from
Mm-hmm.
that 7 through 10 range of the top 10 bowls.
Mm-hmm.
So he has to have a very solid bowl at least, like one of those
Mm-hmm.
bowls that you play between Christmas and New Year.
And they need to look good too. And they need to be competitive in the bigger games. I think that's what disappointed me, especially when they played BYU last year. I'm thinking, okay, here's an opportunity to show something.
Mm-hmm.
If they could have pulled that game off, I think that would have done a lot for the season last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Yeah,
was the same old stuff. Whenever they played a team that was above average, they got their doors blown off.
folded.
Um,
Yeah.
big dude, who do you think out of those coaches is? And before let me rewind for a little bit. Satterfield, one of the big things now he's got to contend with some Texas Tech type stuff because Cincinnati's under investigation for the Sorsby
Yep.
tenure.
Yep.
So that's another thing here. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Big dude, out of those four coaches, who has the biggest target on their back?
Well, I would say it's Satterfield also, not just because of the Brendan Sorsby thing, but I guess the interesting part about lacing the Brendan Sorsby thing in is the fact that Cincinnati last year, and they weren't doing great. They finally are having a great season. They go 7-1, and then they're 0-4 during the last critical stretch, or one. Yeah, it was 1-4. They were for the last part.
And they were rolling, right? Weren't they?
Yeah.
Were they undefeated for a while before that?
Yeah, and I think they were 7-0 or 6-0, but then they went down, and they went down tremendously. And I think also Cincinnati might need a whole new look their program. I don't think Satterfield. I don't think they're going to get the players. They really need something different in Cincinnati.
Yeah,
that's the way I see it. Not just because of the Sorsby thing. The Sorsby thing has made it worse, but they need something different. They need to clean things out over there. You need to come with a coach that's going to bring 15 of his own players. And let's see if we can run it again and go to the court, like they said, and run it back. I would also say, no one really is talking about Kansas coach Lance Leopold. They haven't been to a bowl game in 3 years. I'm not so. They did bring back. I don't know if you heard. Now they brought back that Penn State had Andy Kotelnicki. Now Andy Kotelnicki, who was Penn State's offensive coordinator, is back at Kansas. So I don't know if that means that's going to help, but they got him help. I think to me that's the last ditch attempt to get Kansas out of the basement of their situation, because we know it's a tremendous academic school. I get it. I don't know if Leopold has it to turn it around when you start to look at it. And then as far as Coach Prime goes, I think Coach Prime was given a pass from last year, but I think it's a one-time pass. That's the only reason why I think if he gets through this year and it's better now, and they can do their thing by they open up with Georgia Tech this year. They really have to win that game, and I think that game is on the road. If Colorado can beat Georgia Tech on the road, that will be the start that Prime needs.
Well, yeah, it's a different Georgia Tech, so I don't know if it's going to be the same one from last season.
It won't be because the quarterback's gone. Yeah,
but I don't think it matters though. But I think for Colorado, it's the right start. Winning on the road.
I agree with you. I agree with you, big dude.
Right,
for
finding
sure.
a way to win that football game. They're not the same, and hopefully Colorado is not the same. So with Colorado, again, they've changed. And now Prime said, I think you mentioned, him talking, one of the things that Prime has spoken about is, and he said not to slight anybody, but here's where the only thing I would say that he has to be very careful, because if they're terrible again this year, and he's made a statement by saying, this is the best coaching staff, high school or college, he has ever had or ever been around. This particular coaching staff, this offensive coordinator, all these other. So if you come in and you're 3-9 again, I'm not so sure. I mean, I don't know if that seat can get any hotter. And you say that the school has done everything they needed to do to bring him in. Now, I think Prime is given. He may get through this year. If he has a decent year, he'll get a pass. It'll be interesting to see what kind of contract that he gets. But I still say that Satterfield is on a hotter seat. Baylor getting Lagway, Aranda, that's his name. They had a 22-28 record since then at the Big 12. They have a new athletic director. That new athletic director, especially with what we heard from from Brett Y, we'll call him, he wants winners. He said we don't win enough big football games in the Big 12. So he's very influential, as G said. And I think this new athletic director at Baylor is probably not going to wait either. And it wasn't that much long ago where they were in the playoffs.
Right. They were
and
perennial,
also,
man.
I would say, huh?
I said they were perennially, in the running, Baylor.
Yeah.
Right, right. But then people don't. And let me tell you something. Sonny Dykes is not. His seat's not too cool either. I mean, yeah, they went to wherever they went. They went and they made the playoffs and they lost. That was what 2021, 2022. What have you done for me lately? But I think the hottest seat is Satterfield. With Prime, I would say in a close second.
It's the Big 12. I mean, what type of winning do they think they're going to do in football? Need to
Right,
focus on basketball, in my opinion.
right.
Big dude, question I have for you. Why do you think Prime got a pass last year? Like, because you mentioned that. I'm curious
His
about
health,
that comment.
his health,
No,
his
that's
Health?
what
health.
I
Okay.
thought you were thinking.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I
yeah.
thought. That's what I thought you were thinking. Okay.
Yeah. His health, and there were, I'm sure a lot of changes. I don't know all what happened with that staff because and I understand that, but the more he says that things seem to be going so much better, and I like his honesty, and I like the way he handled the press during these 2 days that they had is probably the best I've ever seen him handle it. It kind of had the celeb vibe off and the coach vibe on. So I love watching his press conferences because I like to see both of them. Real smart, and that celeb thing, it can work for you. But if you're not winning, it doesn't work.
But I
So
think the segue into me, I think, is I have an issue with they're always changing. They change the coaching staff every year he's been there.
right, that's
I
right.
mean, how is he even gauging one coaching staff against the other when nobody has more than a year?
Right.
And if you look at who he's brought in, yeah, you could debate the celebrity coach, for lack of a better term, but from what I've seen from a lot of the guys that he brought in, they seem to be pretty sound as coaches. And it
Mhm,
almost makes me question, is there something going on in terms of the relationship that the
mhm,
staff has with one another? Because the guy seemed to really take to Warren Sapp when he was there.
mhm.
But, Warren's a little bit different in his older age. I'm almost wondering if him and Prime, Warren's going to tell you what he thinks, and he's not just going to go along with you what you want, whether you're the head coach or not. And again, that's just totally speculation on me. I'm wondering if there's been some personality clash. Because as Run says in Run's house, there's a whole lot of superstars on this here stage tonight. And
That's a
it's a
good
lot
one.
of alphas on that coaching staff,
Yeah.
and so
Hmm.
Well,
I'm just
one
throwing
of
that
the
out there.
one of their players was talking about from a player perspective that they essentially, they have to play harder and really be about the business of ball. And apparently, the players must have been talking from last year, the ones who are still there. They're like, these
Hmm.
are the things that we need to do. So there also could be some mindset changes that need to happen at the player
Hmm.
level. Now, I do wonder about their
Hmm.
recruiting, if that's
Hmm.
some of the problem as well as what's going on. But I think more than anything else, you might be onto something. That just the personality, the strong personalities, and I wouldn't be surprised that the coaches at different times got in each,
There you
disagree
go.
vigorously
Yep.
in front of the players.
Yep.
And
Those personalities.
yeah, and those players are going to just step back, when you see your coaches fighting. And I would not be surprised, and I didn't think about it until you said it. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a big part of it. It's just the culture of the team with a whole bunch of alphas. And then I don't know if the people that they recruited really had the strength to separate the
Hmm.
emotions, let them deal with their stuff. That's the coaches. We're going to do ours. I think that's where they are now.
Yeah, because you have to start questioning who's in charge. I mean, unfortunately, obviously not at this level, my disclaimer, but I've been on a team before where it was like, well, who's the head coach? Because old boy over here trying to act like he's the head coach. And
Right.
then it confuses the players. So yeah. So I guess my answer for my biggest hot seat, I don't want to say Prime because I love him so much. And I hope that's not the reason I'm picking the Cincinnati coach Satterfield. I just think Satterfield because I think what they're about to encounter over the next few weeks before this season starts with this Sorsby investigation, I'm going to be surprised if he gets fired before the season starts, fellas.
Because that happened on his watch, right?
It happened on his watch. And
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they have an interim coach before the end of this month.
yeah. They need something different.
Yeah, they definitely do. Oh, another thing I wanted to bring up about Cincinnati before we move on, it seems like they were just playing Alabama in the Sugar Bowl yesterday.
What was that, 3 years ago?
I think it might have been more than that because Bama
Was it?
hasn't been that level in a while.
God, it seems like it was
So
close. Okay.
doesn't it seem like it was just yesterday? And they've
Yeah.
just fallen off a cliff. And I think Big Dude summed it up. Cincinnati needs a change in culture, and that program needs to change.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you go? Because they were, if I remember correctly, they were undefeated in that game, right?
I
And
can't
I think that was
recall.
their first loss. It was, that was before we got the system right. So I think they might have been undefeated in that game, and people consider they kind of got the shaft.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they got it handed to them that night, so that proved, that they didn't belong.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, how did they fall off a cliff so badly? They haven't had bad players,
No.
so I just was curious about that. Now I know we hate to make predictions this early, and we're just predicting who we think in the conference is gonna win this damn thing. I think we've already kind of said it. So why don't you give me your top three you think as of what's today, July 9th, who you think the top three in this conference are going to be. Big dude.
All right.
Top three.
Number three would be Utah. Number two, Baylor, and number one, Texas Tech.
Okay. What about you, G?
Number one, Texas Tech. I think number two, probably Utah. And I think Houston is number three.
Ooh, no BYU. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going with a stunner at 3. Kansas State 3. BYU 2. Texas Tech. The
No
champ.
Utah?
No Utah.
Kansas
I
at
think they're
3.
going to
Did you
fall
say
back up Kansas State. Yes.
Okay.
Never Kansas. Never Kansas.
Can I come clean on something?
Absolutely. Please do.
Satterfield was the head football coach at App State at one point.
I thought he might have been, but I wasn't sure it was the same guy.
That's the same guy.
Yeah.
I'll just leave that there.
I'm guessing during the lesser of the years.
We were pissed at times. I'll put it like that.
Okay. CFP outlook, fellas, and I think with my disparaging comments, I've probably already answered. Realistic expectations for the Big 12. I mean, is there any way on this earth they're going to get more than the conference champion into the CFP?
No. No. Okay,
I think that's what's going to be interesting. I think the only, and it depends on the type of seasons they have. Now,
no, it depends.
Here's what I'm saying.
Don't be giving any disclaimers. What's it going to be?
Well, I would say it would be two. Okay, then I'll say it would be two teams. I think Texas Tech and I think BYU may be the other team that could get the nod with Utah on the outside. I think this is a little bit different. I think that the committee may look at. See, I don't look at the Big 12 as that much more different than last year. It sounds like to me, whatever's happening, we haven't gotten to who's going to win and all that. I just think that there's a lot more parity at the top of the Big 12, where the Big 12 is better at the top between those three teams, Texas Tech, BYU, and Utah. I think they've all strengthened their teams.
I think the first thing you said, I don't know if you just said two different things. G could help me out. I felt like you just said two different things. That it didn't. You said the conference didn't change that much, but then you said it changed. Am I wrong?
No,
Did you hear two different things?
Overall,
I thought you were saying they could get two in, But then you said
Yeah,
if they
Yeah.
have to
that's
change
what I
that
was
much,
trying.
it
But
means
then
they're
you
gonna
all
get
said,
one.
okay. I was trying to give you the scenario. Then I said, okay. Then I cut it and said, because I was going to say Texas Tech and BYU. Yes, BYU is the other team, but between the three teams, between Texas Tech, BYU, and Utah, I said everybody else is the same. I'm thinking, except for those three teams.
Gotcha.
Those
Gotcha.
three teams at the top got better.
I
So
got you.
because though they got better, and let's just say they all have more than 10 wins, and Houston's an outlier, to be honest with you, if they can get like 12 wins. So I think at the top, that's why you could have more than the conference championship, to answer your question.
And you can see, I think you're saying you could also see those three teams. It could go,
Right,
it could go three ways. Depends
right.
on what. Yeah. Okay. I got
Yeah,
you. I got you.
I don't know,
All right.
man.
So this is my reality. Well, I'm gonna nix all that. This is
that's
my
okay.
reality, and
I
y'all can
haven't
tell
heard that
me
word in a long
if
time.
y'all agree. There's gonna be 4 Big Ten teams. There's gonna be 4 SEC teams. That's up to 8. There's gonna be the Big 10 champion, or Big 12 champions. Excuse me. That's your 9th team, and it's gonna be Notre Dame, your 10th team. Who the hell are the other 2 teams going to be? There's going to be that group of 5, right?
I was
Probably,
getting
or
ready to
whatever the
say
hell
one
they're
of them
calling
will
it.
probably make it.
So you're not too far off, perhaps, big dude, but I feel like it might be like this James Madison and somebody else situation
Oh,
again.
yeah. I didn't
But,
think about that.
but as I said that, you might not be that far off, big dude, because if there's a one-loss BYU or Utah team, like let's give a
Well, I
scenario
don't
to
think they're
support
gonna
what you
do it.
said.
I don't think they're gonna do what they did last year and have 2
Hmm.
G5s in there or G6s in there. That's not gonna happen.
So that's leading more into my point then. Let's say Texas Tech doesn't play the other big boys, the other 2 big boys in their conference. Let's say to a championship game. So they roll in undefeated. Let's say BYU or Utah has a loss or undefeated.
Right.
Let's say BYU or Utah with a loss beats an undefeated Texas Tech team. Committee
Yeah.
got a problem.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's
That's
just
where a big dude gets his 2 teams from the Big 12 from. So I'm a backtrack and give you a little bit of an apology, big dude. That's how he gets 2 teams in.
Okay,
I don't think I
who's
was that
going in from
brilliant
the
in
ACC?
understanding all that.
Say it again, big dude. G.
Who's going in from the ACC?
I'm gonna say Miami.
You think they'll get it right this year?
I think Miami's just gonna be flat out the class of the conference. I don't think it's gonna be nothing to get right.
Because I don't know besides them, who does the ACC truly have?
Tech's not gonna be as good. I can't think of anybody else.
Certainly not Duke. I don't think Duke
Yeah,
will
no,
play
they
for any
caught lightning in the
championship.
bottle. They ain't gonna happen
Yeah,
again.
it's not a good conference. I mean,
No,
Absolutely, it's
Clemson.
not.
I mean, Clemson. No one's really been talking about Clemson. Maybe
for
they're
good
sneaking
reason.
in. Yeah, well, I'm thinking. I'm trying to make something here, man.
But
I'm trying to
Clemson
put
has to
something
win it
together
outright.
here.
Yeah, if Clemson
Yeah,
doesn't win it outright, I don't see how they get in.
yeah.
I,
I think Miami's your team. And the other thing about it, yeah, G, you gotta take these moments when you get them, G, because I'm not going to give them that often once we hit the end of August. When I said 4 Big Ten teams, I wasn't certain on that. I could see 5 Big Ten teams getting in. So then that takes up another spot. Because I got to tell
man,
you, when you look at the
holy
Big
hell
Ten in
will
this
break out if
upcoming
something like that
season,
happens.
if you look at this upcoming season, I know we're going to get into that conference later on when their media days come up. But if you just think about it, 5 teams could easily come from that conference. It's considered the best conference in America. So if you treat them accordingly, remember how the SEC used to get treated when it was definitive,
Yeah.
and now we got a playoff system. Why wouldn't there be 5 teams from the Big Ten? And then of course, it's depending on schedule, right? We told Big Dude not to say dependent or maybe, but we were wrong in doing that. It
Well,
does
I
depend
mean,
on
No,
the
y'all
schedule.
good.
you're not wrong. I mean,
You know what
when
I'm
we
saying?
added the big
So
dogs from the
really,
Pac-12, and they seem to be retooling up now that they're in the Big Ten.
I mean, so really, that's what I envision is a more of a 5-4-1. So that's 10 teams now. Then maybe you get big dude second, Big 12 team in, and then you only got one group of five, whoever that may be. I think James Madison is a legit program, and I could see them probably again being right there. I mean, they're gonna get their
Mm-hmm.
doors blown off again, but hey, if they, it's something to get in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know we'll get into ACC and all this other stuff later, so I'm gonna hold
yeah.
my comment.
So, but good start with our first conference for sure. Anything else either of you want to add about this Pretender Conference? And yep, sorry, Big 12 alumni and fans, you know what it is. Big 10 and SEC on here, so you know what it is. Any last comments, fellas?
I just want to say I like their approach, although it's going to take a little bit more. I like the business approach that your Mark is doing. I think where he needs to take another step at is I know this means something to the conference. I know it means something strategically. I don't know what monster drink. I know it meant money, but what does it mean to the players? To have something on their jersey.
Not
I
a
don't think
damn
is
thing.
it going to change? Yeah, is it going to change recruitment? That's what I thought was missing today.
Well, it could because I'm sure there's some extra dollars
Oh,
thrown
it
at it,
is.
but
I
ain't
think
nobody
each
going.
school
No
get $1
one's.
million or something, and
Yeah,
but
no
and
one's
they
going to
can
talk
also
about
do
that
their
though.
own branding as well. So they're
Yeah,
gonna,
well,
so I mean,
Yeah, no one's going to
maybe,
talk about that. They don't want to talk
maybe
about that.
right. That's what I'm saying. If you don't answer any of those questions, there is no wholesome part in it. It is about the money, and we get it. Like you said, Guru, they're not amateurs. So talk about what it is. Talk about
Yep.
it's a high level of competition, and we expect excellence, and we're going to put our finances toward that as well. I respect you for that. But why would I want to come? And I see why DJ Lagway went to Baylor. He probably got. There's no way that anybody got a better deal than him probably with NIL this year. That's why he went.
Mhm.
mm.
Yeah, the Texas schools are gonna, make out well. I think you're gonna see a shift with the Texas schools becoming more dominant with this NIL stuff as it grows. But
Will
in
it,
any
man? Don't
case,
you think Texas is just diluted?
it is. But man, there's so much money. There's enough to go around. I think, man. I
Mm.
mean, I think it's probably gonna be Texas A&M, Baylor. Houston's never really been able to compete with that, even with the old Southwest Conference. I'm missing somebody. Did I say Texas Tech? I didn't say
Mm-hmm.
Texas Tech. Um, I think at least 5 or 6 schools are going to be mainstays competitively. It's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting for sure. But that wraps us for this episode and our Big 12 preview. Certainly, as we get closer to the college football season, we'll be talking about some of these teams a little bit more. And again, as I mentioned, I think there's going to be some coaching shifts that probably happen before we get too far into the season. But thanks again for joining us. Remember to follow, like, subscribe on all the major streaming platforms. And until next time, rock with me, my big dude, and my man G. And we will see ya.